Times? Join Ben Humble every weekday on the Data or Drama Show.
Is it data, or is it drama? Is it data or drama, folks?
Featuring special guests from throughout Canada and the United States who weigh in on how to navigate through these current events.
Piece of the puzzle that so many people forget. When this bad is happening, something good is happening on the other side.
Boom. I gotta drop a bomb for that. That's a bomb right there.
Ben, along with his guests, offers their expertise on mindset,
execute with speed. When you compress time, you make more money. That's just how it plays out.
personal development,
Actually, people are blown away. They're like, oh, it's your 5-year plan. I don't have a 5-year plan.
business,
We got some charts here. We got, restaurants are down 57%.
finance,
Consumer proposals, by the way, in Canada are up. Up.
real estate,
I realized that there were a lot of people making a lot of money in real estate.
Wholesaling is a recession-proof business.
and more, all while keeping you entertained and engaged. Subscribe on YouTube and tune into the Data or Drama Show live at 5 p.m. Monday to Friday with Ben Humble.
Yo, welcome back. Welcome to the Data Drama Show with your boy, Ben Humble here. Hope you guys are having a beautiful day. It's an amazing Monday. It's warm outside. It's like 45 degrees Fahrenheit, which is something Celsius. I don't know. That sounds about right. So let's go with that. Hey, we got a pretty amazing conversation here for you today. We're talking about the virtual revolution. We got some folks here on the live stream. Let me give them some props. What's up? I got Claudio in the house. We got Stacy in the house. Samuel in the house. We got Matt in the house. We got a whole bunch of folks. Welcome to the show, guys. It's going to be awesome. We got Keyshawn in the house. What's up, y'all? Y'all here good? Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs down if y'all love me. So yeah, I got you out of the way. Okay, it's going to be a dope show here today. The virtual revolution. We're getting off a pretty cool high from this weekend. We had an amazing experience. We're going to be talking about the stuff that we went over, but we're talking about all kinds of stuff in the virtual revolution. There's some cool things going on in the news today. Let me crank it. Before we do that, if you guys are getting value from the show today, do me a quick favor. Share the stream. Tag a friend. It will really help me out a lot. So just go ahead and press that share button. Tag a friend, tag a buddy, and have them check out the show with us today. And if you're brand new to us, we've got an awesome book called Real Estate Secrets Exposed. It's available for you guys completely free pro bono on your man. All you need to do is head over to humble.ceo. Check that out. Grab yourself a free copy. So I'm going to bring my man on. Today is McKeever Mondays. I'm just coining that right now. So I got my man here, the pastor of disaster, Mr. Matt McKeever in the house. I don't know where I came up with pastor of disaster. Let's just go with it. Anyways, let's bring my dude in. Where's Matt McKeever at? Can we bring him in the mix? Boom.
Be a part of McKeever Mondays.
Hey, man. There we go. We got you in the mix. So now it's McKeever Mondays. Pretty cool. Okay, so for those of you guys that are brand new to the show, McKeever Mondays, Matt McKeever is my partner in crime at Cashflow Tribe. We had a powerful weekend, dude, and I'm really excited after this weekend. I'm still jacked up. We had a 70% increase in our membership over the weekend, which was phenomenal growth. Dude, let's talk about this whole idea of virtual revolution or VR. It's my new kind of a version of VR here. Virtual revolution. So many investors were connecting with us over the weekend so that you guys could learn about digital investing, how to do deals online, how to use all the digital tools that we've got available to us. And, the whole age of the industrial age, dude, that's going away. We're going to talk about that today. So what do you think, Matt? Give us some insight from this weekend. How do you feel it all went?
Yeah, this weekend was absolutely amazing. It was fantastic getting to connect with hundreds and hundreds of people on those live streams with us. Like, it was definitely the largest group I've ever spoken in front of, and also just the engagement, right? Like, everyone was just so bought in, focused on leveling up their mindset and really just making the most of this current situation we find ourselves in. Because like you were mentioning, Ben, I really do think that we are seeing that virtual revolution, right? It was inevitable that we'd get there eventually. I think COVID's just really compressing time on us and forcing us to innovate faster.
I love that you're saying that. We're going to talk about compressing time, where it's either your choice is going to happen to anyways. But before we dive into today's topic, let's jump into the joke of the day real quick. Hans, give us the joke music here. Folks, I got a pretty good joke here for you guys. We're going to jump into data drama. Then we're going to hit the segment. Okay, Matt, you're going to love this one. This is going to be one of the best jokes. So get ready. We're going to have all the stuff ready. Here we go. We got everything checking out. Okay, Matt, what do you call a guy who's lying on a doorstep?
What do you call a guy that's lying on a doorstep? A doorstop? I don't know.
So Matt, what do you call a guy who's lying on a doorstep? Folks at home, you want to guess?
I don't know.
That guy is called a Matt.
There you go.
Come on, that was pretty good, though,
That's
right?
good, yeah,
Come
I
on,
like
that
it.
was not a bad joke there. Okay, that's a bad. Okay, so data drama. Let's head over to data drama. One of the stock market's biggest winners during the COVID-19 pandemic has been Shopify, climbing 81%. I could be making this up or not since April 2nd. Is this data or is this drama? True or false?
It seems plausible, but I'm gonna say drama. But
Okay.
it definitely feels plausible.
Are you drama just to be, anticlimactic here, or is like just because it's too specific, or what's the folks at home? What do you think?
I just arbitrarily guessing.
There we go. Folks at home, you think it's data or drama? True or false? Okay. All right. Well, it's actually data here. So the boom online shopping fuels rallied in the Shopify stock. It actually climbed 81%. So folks, for those of you looking for a really large ROI, that's a pretty large ROI in a couple of months here. So we're going to jump into it. We got a whole bunch of stuff in the news going on. Thank you so much, Hans, for the music. Okay, so let's get back to our virtual summit. This weekend, folks, we had thousands of people. And Matt, what I really liked about it was, listen, I recognize a lot of people were looking for answers. Mm-hmm. Right now, a lot of people are sitting at home. They may be looking for alternative ways to earn money, right? And I think they realized that the job that they maybe had wasn't really as stable as they thought it was. But more importantly, I think they realized that even if that job was stable, at some point, that's running out of time anyways, because the world really is moving towards a virtual world, right? So the jobs that we have that are factory-driven and industrial-driven, those are becoming more automated. And as that becomes more automated, like we need to get back into this whole specialization of labor idea and look at more virtual ways of doing things. So let's jump into this, kind of some feedback from the weekend, if you don't mind. Share with us some of the stuff that you found interesting over the weekend.
Yeah, so the one thing that definitely always I find interesting about these events that we host, as well as just attending other people's events, is how often we can know something to be true, and yet we just need to hear it from multiple sources.
Yeah.
And so one of the big takeaways for me actually was today, Mike Nowicki from my team, who attended the entire event, was like, hey man, I'm actually going to start doing intermittent fasting now. I know that you and Peter talk about it all the time, but he's like, hearing Chris Ruud talk about it, he was just like, yeah, I need to do this now. And then same with, there was a few other things where Mike came to me and he was like, you keep telling me that I just need to work harder and I just need to be the hardest working person in the room. But he's like, now that I've heard it from Evan Stewart, from Ben, from Chris Ruud, and Dan Crosby, he's like, I'm pretty sure I just need to work harder. I was like, it's one of those things, but I'm also guilty of that as well, right?
Sure.
Where like, sometimes you need to hear something more than once. And so I think what was great was we had so many different experts come on and share their experiences, and yet we can see common threads and themes throughout every successful person that came on to share their journey and experience so far.
I love it. So let's jump into some of those common threads that we keep talking about time in and time again. And I think some people, like marketing, they need to see it a few different times, or I believe they need to feel it. When they genuinely feel the urgency behind the idea, that's when it's going to evoke an emotion in them that pushes them outside of their comfort zone, and then they finally do something with that information. I like what we talked about this weekend, which was, information by itself is useless. We all want knowledge, is what Chris was saying, right? We want knowledge. We want information that we can actually apply, the practical information. And I think part of the thing is that information itself isn't good or bad. It's just information. And I think we give information a bad rap. We're like, man, this information sucks, or the information is good. But I don't think the information is ever 100% right or 100% wrong. There's probably truths in just about every piece of information out there. We just don't know how to use it. And I think that's where the challenge comes in for a lot of investors is how do we apply this to my situation, and how do I make money with it today? So let's talk about some of these themes. We got some people in the comments, by the way. Grant, hey, welcome. Good to see you on the show. Talking about the importance of speed of execution. We talk about the idea of speed to lead. So how important to you, man, is speed to lead and speed of execution and doing things?
Every year I learn more and more how important speed really is and how important it is that we execute faster. If you can compress time, if you can speed up and just get there faster, why not do it? If you plan to retire in 10 years from real estate investing, if you can accomplish that in 5, why wouldn't you do it in 5 years? If you can accomplish it in 5, but do it in 2, why wouldn't you want to do it in 2 years? And I think one thing we talked about this weekend actually was, and some of our Cashflow Tribe council members really mentioned it, there's no nobility in just working hard for the sake of working hard, right? Doing it the hard way isn't inherently better than doing it the easy way if you're actually getting the same results and you're still able to accomplish it. I think a lot of us think that, we need to physically be there at the property. We need to physically swing that hammer. We need to be the one pulling up the old carpets. But realistically, is that the best, highest use of our time? And if we eventually want to get to the level of sophisticated investor that doesn't have to be on site, was there a way we can speed that up and get there quicker?
Yeah, so let me pose a question to you, and I want to get your take on this. I believe that the value of money is directly related to how much time it can buy. So when you're a wealthy person, I translate that back into you can buy a lot of people's time. So if you truly want to become wealthy, then that means that you've not mastered money, but yet you've mastered time. And if you can master time, which I think starts as a self-discipline, and it becomes kind of a general discipline, if you can master that principle and you can leverage other people's time, that's when I think you become truly wealthy. So money in relation to other people's time, that's what buys their time. So the smarter you are with money, the more time you can buy. The less sophisticated other people are with money, the more of their time they're going to trade for said money, right? So meaning that if I can go out and I can create a $10,000 profit within a matter of an hour, but then I can take that $10,000, I can buy someone's labor for 2 months, I would say that I have mastered time or mastered money at a far greater pace than that individual. So if that's the logic, and you may disagree or agree, that's my logic. If that's my logic, then if it takes me any longer than it needs to, or if I add any more time to my business, to my decision, or to seeing a profit, it means that every moment I add, I become less and less sophisticated and less mastery over time and money. So if I can buy a deal in a year versus buying a deal in 5 years, guess what? I'm the master. Like I've mastered money 5 times greater than the individual takes 5 years. That's my thought on this, okay? So if you can invest in yourself, right, and you can start mastering money at a quicker pace and a quicker speed, I can't logically sit there and give you any kind of validation if it takes you longer than it needs to, right? So would you talk on that? And I'll add one last piece. I also believe that there's a Roger Bannister effect in relation to this question, because the moment that somebody else sets the pace and that same person lives in your town or is your age or they have the same kind of life situational thing that you do, if it takes you longer, I would say that person needs to now become your mentor. That's how I see life. Tell me what your thoughts are on this, man, because I'm thinking of very practically, non-emotionally.
Yeah, 100% agree with that sentiment. And I know another thing we touched upon this weekend was really the difference between, like, again, working hard and working smart. So if, like, a lot of people will use the chopping down a tree analogy. So, you can take the axe right now and be super eager and run out into the forest and start chopping down that tree. But the problem is, if you haven't sharpened it, if you don't have a sharp axe already to begin with, well, you're really going to be stuck. And you're going to spend a lot of time to chop down that same tree. Yeah. Whereas had you spent a few hours sharpening that tool, you can get there so much faster. And I know one of your mentors, Chris Rude, one of his first things to you was, you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
And that to me is so powerful, because so often, like, all of us are in Plato's cave, right? To some degree, regardless of where you're at on your journey. I'm sure that there's things right now I'm completely unaware of that I desperately should be aware of, because that allowed me to compress time even faster.
Correct.
But until someone's there to be able to show you that you're in that cave, that there's really an entire world out there of opportunities and creativity and just options in general for your future, until you have someone to lead you there, you can spend a lifetime just stumbling in the dark trying to find your way out of that cave.
Yeah. Yeah, let me add another caveat. So if you're listening to this, folks, on a very practical level, this may touch something. I'm going to try to remove the emotion from all this conversation, just be very direct with you. People will say this, here's the rebuttals, right? But what if I go very quickly and I run in the wrong direction? Okay? Well, let's logically examine this. Well, if that is the case, then you're likely to figure out you're going in the wrong direction relatively quickly, because you're in the habit of moving quicker, right? So you could literally be running and realize that you're running in the wrong direction much before, or much quicker than the individual who takes much longer to even start running. I would rather start run in the wrong direction, okay? And nothing is irreparable. So, like, if you make a mistake, you screw up, you lose money, you lose whatever, guess what? You didn't lose time, ample amounts of time, because we look at, like, oh, I'm going to lose money. You're already losing money via losing time. And if money equals time, and we truly understand this, then every moment that you spend not running towards the goal you're already losing money, right? We call it opportunity cost, and that's how I equate it. What's your thought on this?
Yeah, 100%. And so to use like an analogy that's probably going to hit home for my YouTube audience, this is true of my YouTube audience. There's so many people that have been watching on the sidelines for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And that to me is one of the most painful things about creating the content that we do on YouTube is if I'm just creating information, if you're just consuming it for entertainment, you're really missing the point. What I really want is for you to be able to take action, for you to actually go out there and accomplish something. It's when you start actually putting into action that information that like it calcifies into knowledge and experience and wisdom. And so I think there's so many people that have just been sitting there, analysis paralysis, waiting for the perfect deal, the perfect opportunity, the perfect alignment. And realistically, that doesn't exist. We have to create it. And that was another big theme of this weekend, was just talking about having to create your opportunities, create your abilities, and create the deals, because there's no deal out there just waiting for you to make $20,000.
Yeah.
You need to bring your skill set and your creativity to it in order to make that happen.
Yeah, and you don't have to combine time and perfection. They don't actually go hand in hand. Time is time, perfection is perfection. I would actually hope that you remove the word perfection from your vocabulary. It has nothing to do with making money, right? There's a book out there called Ready, Fire, Aim, and it talks about, basically get ready, fire the gun, and then aim it, right? You see, the thing is, well, what if you don't hit something? Yeah, but guess what? If you don't shoot the gun, you have zero probability of hitting something. If you just aim and shoot, your probability is still much higher than never shooting that gun. So the whole idea of ready, fire, aim is something I apply in my business, something I've been applying in my investing. Folks, I'll be honest, I'm not a better investor than a lot of people. Guess what I do, though? I will execute much faster than you. I will run at things. And Matt knows this about me because we spend enough time together. Matt just knows it's like speed, 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 speed. One of my mentors, Judge, he wrote a book called Scale with Speed. And this book really helped me master the idea of time. Business essentially comes down to time compression. If you can compress time, then you're going to be able to benefit from so many of the sound business things that happen. So, for example, the 4-hour work week. Tim Ferriss, that entire book is about time compression, right? I think when you really compress time and you can do the work of 8 hours in 2 hours, your business can truly scale and grow. And then at some point you'll find, like we had my friend Matt Larson on the show last week. He's like, dude, I work 5 hours a week and we flip 25 houses a month. How do you do that? The only answer is he's compressed time. He's compressed time. He's put in a process which allowed him to further compress time. So we're in the game of compressing time. That's really what it comes down to. Otherwise, the default is you go to a job and you exchange time for money. And the problem with the job, the only reason why a job doesn't pay as much as it could is because it's hard for you to compress time in a job. Unless you're in some kind of executive position where you don't get paid based on your job hourly rate, but you get paid on performance. Well, if that's the case, then you could create system, process, compress your time. And as long as you're making more and more money for the company, you'll probably make more and more money as well. And I don't think your hours matter as much. But as a business owner, the entire game is the compression of time. And the other cool thing that happens when you compress time is you get to spend the time on yourself to learn how to compress even further. Very few people get a moment to step outside of their own box and say, okay, I need to evaluate my process, and am I doing the right thing? Do I need to pivot? Do I need to change? Right? We don't get an opportunity to have that dialogue with ourselves because we're so focused in the middle of our hourly rate. And even if you're a small business owner, a lot of even investors, Matt, are still trading time for money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important. Some people, again, when they start hearing talk about entrepreneurship or business owners, they're like, I'm not a business owner, so this doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are, like even just a single individual trying to navigate life. You are, in essence, a small little economy to yourself. You are a business owner. Your family unit is a business, right? Yeah. And you still need to operate on similar principles. So this applies throughout life, not just to real estate investing, not just if you own like a Subway franchise or your own little restaurant. It literally applies to every single individual because all of us interact in this economy. All of us handle money on a daily basis, whether we realize it or don't.
Yeah. So time compression equals money, right? That's the theory. Let's jump on to the second principle, which is the economy, or the economy of one. I'm a firm believer that you have to focus on filling your own cup first before you can overflow and help other people. Now, some people may disagree with this and think, well, how am I going to help my family if I selfishly only take care of me and I only help myself? But the truth is that if you don't help yourself and you don't get ahead, it's very difficult for you to help other people get ahead because, first of all, you won't be speaking from a place of counsel. You'll be speaking from a place of advice, right? And you can't be prepared to help other people unless you're further ahead. This is the truth, folks. You can't teach somebody to ride a bicycle if you haven't ridden a bicycle. So the idea of focusing on yourself is a selfish one. But you know what? I think there's a positive selfishness and a negative selfishness, right? The positive selfishness is on improving yourself so you can improve others. The negative selfishness is on, well, not necessarily improving yourself, but stealing time away from yourself to focus on yourself. I'll tell you what I mean. You're stealing time away from the things you should be doing, focusing on your purpose, to focus on the things that don't produce anything productive. So that's what I mean is the unhealthy selfishness. So you're out drinking, you're out doing things that don't produce anything productive for anybody, not yourself, not other people. But if you're investing in yourself so that you can help other people, I fully agree with that selfishness because I think you have to at some point make that decision, right? So Matt, what's your take on this? And feel free to chime in on your own thoughts, but that's how I view, the whole economy.
Yeah, I think another great analogy for that is the idea of being on an airplane, right? You're supposed to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. And again, if myself or Ben can see further than others, it's because we're standing on the shoulders of giants. Again, that's where like mentorship and taking counsel from people who have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, that are active practitioners that you'd be willing to trade places with is so important in my opinion. Because again, like you said, if you haven't done something, you can't provide counsel to someone and you can't go help that other person.
That's right. And actually you're bringing up the next principle here. So next principle is the shortcut of mentorship. A lot of people, they have a hard time struggling with the idea of paying for mentorship. And it's because you're thinking about it as an expense, like it's a balance sheet. See, we're used to paying for things like we pay for gas, we pay for food, we pay for groceries, and none of those things are providing any long-term benefit to us. They give us a short-term reward. So it's very easy to quantify the short-term gratification. Mentorship isn't about short-term gratification. Mentorship is about increasing your level of aptitude and your wisdom so that you can discern information at a higher level. Like if you can compute things at a higher frequency, then what's going to happen is you're going to have a massive advantage over other people in those areas of your life. If you understand business better, you understand the game of real estate better, if you understand how to play checkers versus playing chess in relation to real estate, what's going to happen is you're going to make different moves. You're going to strategically ask better questions. You're going to have likely more confidence to execute on higher level concepts. All of those things stem from the idea of wisdom. So we got to understand that an investment in wisdom is an investment in you, not into another person. So until we understand that concept, though, we look at it as an expense. And that is probably one of the most pivotal shortcuts or definitive things that I've realized in my kind of pursuit of success is that a mentor has taken me further. Without a mentor, number one, I wouldn't know half the amazing people that I know that have actually helped me grow. And number two, I'd be living in the dark about very specific things that I can attribute today's success to. What's your thought on mentorship, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that until you've really started experiencing it, I think it's difficult to truly appreciate the value that's there, as well as how powerful it is. And so one of the things Chris Rude said this weekend is the best friends you're going to make aren't even necessarily going to be friends, but you're going to buy your friends.
That's right.
And I think most people that haven't experienced mentorship, that haven't dabbled in personal development, that's actually going to sound very off-putting. And they're going to have a natural visceral reaction. They're going to have emotions that want to be like, no, that can't be true. Like that's wrong. But when you take a step back and think about it unemotionally, it actually makes sense that you would want to find more allies rather than friends.
Yes.
Because allies, you're working together on a specific path, right? You're going towards a specific goal together.
Dude, I'm giving you a bomb for that one. I'm giving you 2 bombs because you said something very important. Dude, let me just paraphrase if I can one more time. You said that you need allies, not friends. And you know what? When it comes to allies, you have to pay for allies. There's nothing free about gaining allies because an allies have to have a mutually vested relationship. So you have to give. You're either giving your time, you're either giving your energy or your money to find and secure allies. But an ally, again, that alliance, you truly know that there's a vested interest and you're willing to help each other. The problem with friends is, we talked about this over the weekend, there's 2 main problems, right? It's comparison and compassion. both of the C's of death, as far as I'm concerned. Your friends will compare everything that you do with everything that they do. And even if they might mean well, guess what? That criticism or that comparison might come across as negativity, might come across as different things. They don't want you to change because they don't want to change. This is what happens with friends. Friends are not looking for change. Friends want to stay the same. Your family will give you tons of compassion, and maybe some of your friends as well, but it's under the same context. They don't want you to take on any risk. They want you to have a safe, secure thing. But the problem is the safe, secure thing you have now, the job, the lifestyle, the comfort that you have, has led you to this point in life anyways. You're never going to be truly wealthy if you're living in comfort. You're never going to be truly wealthy if you can't handle criticism or you're stuck in criticism. So you don't want comparison. You don't want compassion. You want allies. And allies are also pushing as well. What I love about an ally is they might be further ahead financially and mentally and mindset wise, but they're pushing. So when they move, you can move, right? The problem with friends is a lot of them aren't pushing. That would be the biggest challenge for me. You have a take on this? Do you agree, disagree?
Yeah, 100% agree. Although I also want to say for anyone watching this that may not immediately be in that mindset, I'm not sure if I would have agreed 10 years ago. And like, that's okay, right? Like everything's a journey and everything's part of an iterative process. And so I know some people, again, may have visceral reactions to the idea of allies over friends or buying your friends, things of that nature.
Yeah,
I get it. But I think if you come with an open mind, you'll really start to understand and appreciate the value that can come from those relationships where it's a mutual value exchange. And even just where people are clear on the goals of that relationship.
That's right.
So 100% agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, so some of the comments Mitchell's saying, I would say that you can attract this also. You listen, folks, you do attract into your life what you put out there. So if you're pushing for positivity and growth and you're going in the, you're moving towards that and that's where your mindset is, you will attract it. But are you going to be able to sit at home and be positive and attract people to knock on your door? Probably not. See, the truth is you need to go out into the world, be that beacon of hope, go to where other beacons of hopes are, and then you can attract people. So there is something to be said about moving out of your comfort and getting around other people. I believe the fastest way to fix your mindset is to just get into a room with other people who are working on theirs. So if you struggle to take your first action step, the first action for me would be just getting in the right room. Now, I'm going to agree with you. For the first few years, listen, I didn't get out there trying to make friends and get mentors in real estate. I thought this was an individual sport. And it was me against the next guy, and I created a very competitive mindset about it. And you know what? I was good. I'm good at this game on my own, right? I still made $1 million on my own in this game. I pushed hard, I just made it happen. I pushed whatever. But here's what happened. I developed the pride. I developed an ego about it. I developed a very competitive nature. And as a result, I didn't trust anybody else, right? I was only working to push myself, right? And I just said, mentors are for lazy people. I don't need a mentor. That's for people who are weaker than me. I thought that a mentorship was for a weaker person. What I didn't realize was this, the value of allies. Because just like I was pushing, there's other people pushing just as hard as I was. And I realized at one point, imagine if I found 5 other Bens just like me. Wouldn't it be valuable to have those guys as allies versus never having met those guys in the first place? Because at some place, somewhere, there would be some synergy. Somewhere, somehow, we would do a deal together, we'd borrow money, or at very minimum, we'd be in a support system with each other where we could get together and we can have a conversation about, hey, I was trying to put this deal together. It's supposed to be 50 grand. I only got 20 grand. Man, that's crap. But when you go home and tell your family that, they're like, you should be thankful. You got $20,000 and nobody, it's not relatable to people who are not there. So I think the first thing is the relatability around other people. That is so important because when you start grinding on your own, you're going to speak your own language. And the only friends you have are going to be found in books. And the only friends you have are like 100-year-old dead guys, right? Napoleon Hill and all these people, right? And Kiyosaki from 30 years ago, that's your friend. And you know what? There's other people reading the same material who also need the same kind of relationship. So that's my take on it. And I wasn't always of this mind frame. I lived in a scarcity-driven, competitive nature mindset because I thought that's how you win in business. And you know what? You'll win up until a point. You may even conquer your city. but you'll never conquer your county. You won't conquer the world doing that, because every person who conquers really conquers. They have allies. Think of every war, think of every country, they have allies. So if you don't have allies, you're probably just not playing as big as you could. So the question is, what was the opportunity cost, Matt, that I had during the first few years?
Yeah,
could I have not
can't
bought
help
so
but
many?
Wonder that about myself as well.
Yeah, could we have not just played so much bigger had we known each other?
Absolutely. And again, it's shocking, but like, how do you know that that person at the grocery store has the same mindset as you, right? Like, you don't. And so that's often where these more exclusive rooms really allow you to get an understanding of like, oh, like this person committed because they invested an entire weekend.
Yeah.
They spent this money. They've put it on the line the same way I put it on the line. So because you understand that they've also bought in the same way you've bought in, it's just so much easier to like cut through all the noise and really get dialed in on the signal.
Yeah, I love that. Samuel saying so true. We got Ro saying counsel. I love it. Guys, this is so good. So the next principle that I kind of want to focus on is, so now we've covered, time compression. That's super important. The value of getting a mentorship, the value of community. One thing that we don't talk about is we are business owners. And I want you to think of yourself as a business owner. And a business owner understands that in business, there must be an ebb and a flow. There must be a cost and a return. I think a lot of times, Matt, we want to create things for free with no initial upfront cost or risk, but yet we want to have a revenue or we want to have a return that's above normal. So the truth is, though, folks, there has to be a cost somewhere. Like, there has to be an intrinsic cost somewhere in order for you to gain an intrinsic return. Or you're pursuing an extrinsic or fake return because there's really no input. So if you're willing to put an input, then I think you can reasonably expect an output. So I'm being extremely logical here, and I'll tell you what I mean. In the game of business, folks, it's all about leverage. Leverage is what makes business the game. That is the game. It's leverage. So if I want to be an investor, then I need to be able to, use other people's capital or use resources wisely, be able to take those resources, right? And then I should be able to amplify or extract value from those resources. And somewhere down the line, I should be able to get a profit. So if I'm Costco, I need to be able to source a product somewhere. And it has to cost me something. And then I need to be able to sell that product to an end consumer. People struggle, Matt, with the idea of OPM and OPR. They struggle to borrow money for real estate investing because when they've bought their property, their main house, maybe they save 20% down. The truth is, folks, you're using credit everywhere, all day, every day. And maybe you may have misused credit, or a lot of people mismanage credit, so they think that credit is the enemy. But guys, credit is neither good nor bad. Credit will do only what you tell it to do, right? It's not a pervert. Credit will only do what you allow it to do. So what are we doing with the credit? In the people who understand that credit is a huge asset will scale and do a lot more deals than the folks that want to use their own money. You see what I'm saying? So that's my take on credit. How do you feel about, resources like that, Matt? Credit, OPM?
Yeah, I think another way to start thinking about credit or leverage as well is it's another way to kind of compress time, right? It lets us control more assets sooner than we otherwise would be with just our own limited resources. And I think a lot of beginner investors, a lot of novices struggle with this concept. And that's why we see everyone always trying to do it with only their own money. How can I put only 3% of my money down to do a deal? How can I put 5% down? Can I do a CMHC mortgage? And, that was my headspace back in 2010 as well, right? Very, very limited, very scarcity oriented, not thinking about allies or JV partners, things of that nature. Just how can Matt do it rather than like, how can I build something that will really get me there faster? And that's what leverage is all about. It lets us control more assets faster than we otherwise would with our own limited resources. And so that's allowing us to compress time, how quickly we can acquire more. And again, to me, like, one of the biggest things I think in the last year, and a lot of it has to do with you, Ben, that I've taken away is just understanding how powerful compression of time is. That's probably the most important thing, that return on time concept.
So let me add to that if I can. Our job as business owners is to basically make money, right? This is what it comes down to, is generate a profit. So in generating a profit, there's really no stop. Like, if we generate $1, then our job then should be to generate 2 and then 3 and then 4 and so forth. That is the whole nature of business and enterprise. So it's not about limiting the input to limit the output. If you want to maximize the output, we should be increasing the input. The idea is this. Do you have a proof of concept? Did you buy a duplex and then, burr it out and, be able to pull your money out and then move on to the next deal? If so, then the idea should be like, okay, the proof of concept works. Now I need to do as many duplexes as possible. It's not about I want to do one duplex. We use this terminology basically as the proof of concept, but then we get stuck in proof of concept land, right? I went to the bank, I got a mortgage, they said I can do one, and then I'm done. Okay, cool. But if it was successful and you made money, then how do we do 50, 100, 200 of these things? And I think that's the conversation is, if it makes sense, we have to spend more. We have to invest more. You should take the profit that you're earning and put it back in your business. That comes back to mentorship. Listen, if I spent 10 grand with Chris, which I did, I spent $10,000, and then I made $750,000 in the following 12 to 16 months, wouldn't I want to go and invest more? Why would I limit myself saying, well, I've peaked, I'm done? And I did. I went from that and I went to a $50,000 a year mastermind group, and now I've made much, much more. In fact, millions of dollars in revenue because of that mastermind. So what my point to you folks is, when it works, it's time to pour on the gasoline. Not like I finally got the fire going. Well, might as well just see if it stays lit. And I think that's what we do, is we want to see if it'll just keep coasting versus like continuing to push to grow it bigger, So that's how I see businesses. If it works, I'm spending more, not less. What do you think about that? Does that make sense? And how does that tie into real estate maybe?
Yeah, absolutely love the concept of, I guess another way I kind of look at this is, a lot of us, like, especially at the start when you first get into real estate investing or think about real estate investing, you're always focused on this destination. Yeah. But what ends up happening, the deeper you go down the rabbit hole of real estate investing and personal development, you really do start to understand and internalize that it's about the journey. There is no destination. You're always going to want to be leveling up. You're always going to want to be improving yourself. And so, again, based upon that logic, why wouldn't you want to get there sooner? And again, understand that even getting there sooner, you're going to want to go somewhere else after that. And that this is just a continuous process, and you're going to want to always keep doubling down on yourself, because that means that you're growing. That's a good thing. In my opinion, you're either growing or dying. It's very obvious which side of that equation I want to.
Yeah, and if you're not growing, you're dying. So that's the other iteration of this, right? If you're not pushing for growth every day and you think we're going to coast, we're going to get to a point where we die. So a lot of people right now, we're stuck in this COVID thing. Like, what do we do? We're in COVID. The problem was we didn't do anything before COVID, right? Like, the people who are pushing, I did multiple, a couple hundred deals, and I completed those, put money in the bank on over 200 plus deals. So guess what happened? I'm good now that COVID happened. So the problem is, like, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So we have to do it today, which is my next principle. I'm always pushing to complete today, because tomorrow is a new set of opportunities and a new set of challenges. Every time we delay till tomorrow, or every time we delay, or every time we're trying to pursue instant gratification and not focus on the right things, I think this is where we lose. Business does require patience, folks. So if it's going to take you some time to actually apply these things, unless it's going to take you some time to buy 10 houses or 5 houses, do it as fast as possible, but it will still take you some time. You're probably not buying 10 houses overnight. It's just not going to happen. Not unless you got a whole bunch of stuff dialed in. So waiting till tomorrow is not going to help you. I think we need to recognize, if you're in a season right now of opportunity, you need to rinse. Too many people get to 80% of the way, or 50 or 40, and then they pull right back. I would rather get towards the end, and when I think I'm in the end zone, guess what I do? Boom. For example, when I'm in the middle of a sale and I'm like, I got to get these, sales done. Boom, boom, boom. And I get close to my sale target, and my team looks at me like, hey, we're at the sale target. Guess what I do? Go harder. I want to run through that sale target into the next sale target. If I'm on track to do 4 deals this month, and it's only the 3rd week or whatever, it's the 3rd week, and I'm already at 4 deals, guess what I'm going to go? I'm going to push. I'm going to push harder and get to 6, to 7. But a lot of people, they see the goal, and for some reason, when they see it in the horizon, they pull back. And I think the businesses that truly win are willing to go harder in the end zone, not lighter in the end zone. What do you think about this concept? Because, dude, I'm like a shark. When I get in there and I see that it works, I actually readjust my end goal, and I make it much bigger, and I push harder.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Again, it's part of the process. It's part of the journey, and it's fun to continuously chase that journey, chase that goal, and 10x it, double it, whatever that is. So absolutely agree with that sentiment. To me, it's just this is right now I know there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of volatility, and a lot of people are just concerned in general, but it's so much more enjoyable to be excited and focused on growth rather than just dwelling on, worst case scenarios.
I love it. I love it. So let's move on to our next segment. Folks, those are some of the principles that we talk about in business, some of the stuff we covered this weekend, things that are important to me and Matt. And, I think if you take it and you write it down, even if you don't necessarily agree today or it doesn't resonate with you today, write it down and go back and look at this stuff when it's sitting on your fridge every day and say, am I truly living this out? I don't care if you question it. You can say, hey, does this speed to lead thing work, or is it just a bunch of hoo-ha? Like, look at it, ask people, have an intellectual conversation instead of an emotional one, and you may discover that that's what's been missing all along in your approach. So let's jump into some stuff here, why this whole digital revolution is so important. I'm going to pull up some of the stuff in the news, Matt. We could talk about it. Here's what's going on right now, folks. Just to give you some information here real quick. So the oil futures, right? This is the oil market. Oil futures have completely plunged, actually to -0. So Hans is going to pull up some stuff on the chart here. Plunging. So what's happening is a lot of the oil companies or related industries, a lot of the old industrial companies are taking a massive hit. We're talking Boeing. We're talking airlines. We're talking a lot of these old school companies. And we have to recognize that, guess what? The whole industrial age, it's been coming to a halt for a while. But now that this virtual age is here, hey, we're going to come up to a rude awakening, and we're already there. The companies that have decided not to pivot, adjust, and modernize, just like investors, look at this thing. It's dropped. Look at this significant drop here in oil futures, right? So what's happening? You notice the cost of gasoline, folks? You see how it keeps dropping and keeps dropping? Well, it's going to keep dropping, so I know you're getting excited about that, but it has negative consequences in other areas of the world. Right? It's hitting the Canadian dollar because oil is a big export in our country, right? Actually, I think it's the largest export in Canada right now at the moment. And this is affecting things. So here's what I want to help you guys understand. It's the age of the bulls and the bears. It's the lot of greed and the lot of fear. And some industries are completely tanking while other industries are completely rising. So with this whole conversation, are you positioning yourself to be a virtual investor, to become a virtual business owner, or are you still doing things the old school way? So I'll give you a couple examples, then we can jump into conversation. So here's so old school commercial enterprise businesses like Neiman Marcus, all right, is looking to file for bankruptcy. Their stock is tanking. JCPenney has started skipping out on debt payments. Sick. In anticipation of a potential bankruptcy as well. Their stock is tanking. You know who's not tanking? Amazon, which is seeing massive growth. Netflix, which is seeing massive growth. And then, folks, actually a lot of stay-at-home stocks right now are leading the equities from the lows. So stocks benefiting from stay-at-home trends are gaining Monday, helping keep the major averages off their lows. The Dow is actually down about 2%, or about 500 or 600 basis points at the moment. Actually, I think it's 3%. But that's what's keeping it from completely plummeting, is the fact that some companies are rallying while others are dropping immensely. So for those of you that are invested in the stock market, I want you to think about this, but think about this how it relates to your own income, how it relates to the future of what we're doing here in Canada. Even companies like American Airlines, obviously, that are very heavily dependent, 97% drop in passengers, 97. So it's got a negative almost 4.5% drop just in today's price. So we're going to bring up the charts real quick, and then, Matt, we can talk about this stuff. But, the VIX, which is the volatility index, which we typically cover once a week here, the higher this thing is, the more uncertainty there is in the market. So we're kind of at this point where some things are completely scary and some people are being very greedy in some areas. So it's actually up on the day, a little bit more fear and volatility than there was, last week. But look how high it tapered. It went all the way to 80 when the corona news first came out, and it started slowly pulling back and pulling back. So there's a lot of mixed reviews out there. So if you're looking at the news and you're making predictions, what I want to help you understand is that there's no way you're going to be able to predict this stuff accurately, because things are running up and things are running down. And most investors who are buying stocks are probably getting caught in the crosshair somewhere. Everybody wants to know the shortcut, whatever. All I'm trying to help you do is prepare. Not predict, but prepare. We are definitely moving in the digital age. And in fact, it may have been a little bit further out, but it's definitely here now. So, Matt, let's talk about this. By the way, pull up the S&P real quick. So the S&P is actually down a couple points here today, almost 2% on the S&P. The Dow's down over 2% today. So, Matt, how do you feel about this stuff, man? Am I being, crazy here, or do you agree in this entire industrial information age, the digital revolution is already here?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely here. It was already here. It's just we weren't being forced to adapt as fast as necessary.
Good point.
So
Yeah, good point.
It's really what's happening right now. So what, we can look back in history and see other examples of this, right? Companies like Yellow Pages or Blockbuster.
Who's that? Who's Yellow Pages? Who's Blockbuster?
Kids, ask your parents. They'll tell you what Yellow Pages are.
Matt made it funny. I got to hit that. Okay, keep going. Yeah, Blockbuster.
But yeah, like we can see these companies that really struggled to adapt to new realities, and they decide like we've been in business this long. There's no reason we should change. The market should just keep, and like that's where really that sense of entitlement comes out, right? We're all focused on, or all successful businesses should be focused on servicing their customers. Yeah. And so if you're not focused on servicing your customers, I can tell you what happens long term. It doesn't look good for your business.
Yeah, so let's call it what it is, though. The main focus of every business should be its revenue. And people get this antiquated idea that if we just keep doing our business, then it'll bound to come back. It's bound to whatever. There's a lot of businesses right now that are shut down for COVID that are probably not opening again. Let's call it what it is. They can't afford a 3 or 4 month halt on their revenue because that is their revenue. And now they're going to be sitting at negative for the rest of the year trying to play catch up. So the truth is the earnings reports of a lot of these major companies, we're getting into earnings season. I guarantee you this quarter and next quarter, primarily probably next quarter, we're going to identify where the biggest hits were taken because we're going to find out whose revenue was lacking. So personal economy says I need to focus on my revenue every day, all day. And if I don't, or as a business, if I don't focus on revenue and I'm so busy buying pencils with my name on it, hey, listen, it's coming down to an end. You're not going to be in business very long. So keep going on this. It's a good trend.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's like to drive that revenue, you need to be customer oriented, right? If you're not where your customers want to be, if you're not making it easier for your customers to transact with you, again, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of history and you're going to be amongst the Yellow Pages or Blockbusters of the world rather than
Can anybody really sit here that like they didn't see this coming? Like we know for years now that people are sitting on their iPhones at home watching TV and the millennial generation is doing things completely different. Did we not see it coming? Did we just think like, oh, the millennials will eventually just become like the rest of us? They're not going to focus so much on technology. They'll keep coming to Walmart and Best Buy and all these other stores, physically walking in, doing the shopping, going to the grocery store. The truth is we all see it coming. We just fail to take it serious enough until it's too late. So keep going on this thought because I think it's important.
Yeah, I think a lot of us and this is true of almost anyone regardless of your mindset, but like all of us suffer from like a normalcy bias, right? So we assume that whatever happened yesterday, that's the way it's going to be today and that's the way it's going to be tomorrow because that's just normal. That's the way it's always been, so it will always be that way. Yeah. But in fact, like we don't have to look that far back and see how dynamic our economy is. Like take the last 35 years of my life. How massive of dramatic shifts we've seen in every type of industry in regards to that. Yeah. And why wouldn't we actually expect a massive shift in the future as well? But it's just because we get caught up in the day-to-day and we don't notice the slight shift, right? Yep. And the compounding effect of all those small little changes occurring. But all of a sudden, once there's a real catalyst like we currently have, that's when it just hits that tipping point. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, you need to embrace virtual business practices now. There's no longer a question of, can we delay this another year because it's going to be painful because I'm going to have to learn how Zoom works and I don't have a Zoom account. It's like, no, now I need to do this.
So let me add to that piece. So I think businesses go through this kind of piece of like normalcy to basically bureaucracy, right? Everything is normal, and then bureaucracy. I'm going to tie this into our own business, Cashflow Tribe. Listen, there's a lot of other companies out there that do education, but guess what? A lot of them, and you guys know who they are, they're old school battleships. They've been doing business for the same way for 100 years. And what they do is that, they go around, they do the seminars, they hype it all up, that you go to the thing, they sell you information, they charge you all this money. Fine, I get it. But guess what? They're not willing to change. When Matt and I sat down, what happens is that's a bureaucracy already. Those are not changing. They're slow to implement. We might put an online product at some point. We might start an online community. Matt and I were like, we're going to start an online community today. And in fact, you're going to always get the hungry entrepreneur who recognizes an opportunity in the marketplace to serve people at a higher level. And they're going to come in and they're going to come out swinging out the gate. For us to put on that event this weekend, I heard that we did our stats here. On Saturday, we touched 1% of Canadians in our marketing efforts. 1% saw our content, which is an insane number to me, right? And we had thousands of people on the stream. And that's where our company, like the online, like we grew by 70% in 2 days. Okay. So my point is, you can't afford bureaucracy. The moment your company gets bureaucratic, guess what? It's over. Somebody else is going to come. They're going to find a better value proposition. They'll find a better way to serve people. They'll offer more value because they have something to prove. And guess what? They're going to come in and do it cheaper and better than you anyways. So a lot of these other companies, especially Canadian education companies, guys, guess what? It's over for you. Your days are numbered. You're out. You're out the game. You failed to implement in a timely manner. You failed to provide value. You failed to grow fast enough. What you did was you got bureaucratic and you got complacent. And when you get complacent and you charge people, the negative reviews start piling up. And people like us say, hey, there's a better way to help people. Because people will go through those systems and they'll find issues with and say, this isn't working for Canadians. This real estate education thing isn't really good for other people. Who cares if you got a famous dude on it or whoever who's your spokesperson or whatever? None of that matters. People don't care. People don't care about some famous person who's in charge or as your icon. People don't care about your bureaucratic process. People don't care about you. They care about themselves. You're either serving people at a high level, you're either focused on developing an amazing company culture and being able to drive, value, or you're not. And if you're not, the truth is, guess what? You're just not going to exist. It's that simple. So I think you're right, dude. And I'm not targeting anybody specifically, but it probably sounds like I am right now. My point is, you cannot afford to get complacent. Because if you do, guess what? Some other hungrier person is going to show up behind you, and they're just going to take your lunch. And you're right, dude. People forgot what Blockbuster was. Like, what's a Blockbuster? People don't even understand what Blockbuster was. Because I think they actually didn't they have an opportunity to buy Netflix like years and years ago when they were an IP? Do you remember the price?
It was like pennies on, now it's laughable, right? Literally, it's mind boggling. But let's also even look at Netflix. They're an innovative company.
Yeah.
They started off mailing you DVDs. You know what they realized? This is a decent business model today.
Yeah.
But is it going to be one tomorrow? And no, they adapted. They didn't get romantic about that platform and just get tunnel vision on, well, is there a way we can send DVDs faster? Is there a way we can make DVDs lighter or cheaper? It's no, how can we just deliver more value faster to our audience? Oh, well, if they didn't even have to have a DVD, that sounds like a better business proposition.
Yeah, everybody wants to brag about their widget and wants to brag about the thing that they do, but the thing that you do doesn't matter. Serving people matters, and if people decide that they want it served differently, you need to serve it differently. Oh, we serve the best steaks in Omaha. Listen, nobody cares. Do people even want steaks in Omaha? If they do, for a season, you'll be the best and you'll make a lot of money. But what if they all become vegan? Guess what happens to the steaks in Omaha? Nobody wants it. They're all vegan. So my point is, you got to be willing to adapt. And if you're not, this is the game of enterprise and business. You got nobody to complain to. Nobody's sitting here handing out Kleenexes like, hey, your business failed. My point to you is this, folks. Go into the virtual economy. Become part of the virtual economy. Take advantage of what's available to you, because there's a lot of industry out there that's battleship. And those battleships, they don't last very long. Look at the USS Midway. Nicest, strongest battleship ever. Now it sits in a harbor. That's what happens. It sits in San Diego as a reminder that, hey, it was great, but now it's decommissioned. So, right? So my point is, I think we can agree on this, is that's the nature of business, is that things will come into style, come out of style, come into fad, come out of fad. That's what's going to happen, right? Who could have predicted that people wanted to get food delivered to their house? You know who? The people who grew those companies and said people are sitting at home watching TV, they're watching Netflix, they're playing on their iPhone all day. Ain't nobody trying to go to Zehrs or Metro to grab food. Guess what they want to do? They want to get it delivered to their house. At some point, here's what's going to happen. Some robot will fly into your house on a drone. It will put the food in your mouth. It'll force your mouth to chew it, and it will digest it for you. That's what's going to happen, because people will get so lazy, but that's the nature of things. And then some other fad will come out and some other thing. Maybe it's going to become really cool to go and stand in lines at grocery stores all over again, because we became so so antisocial that is the cool thing to do, is become social. You never know. So my point is, don't try to predict it. Just prepare for it. Put yourself in a business where you're prepared to pivot, and don't expect that whatever you do is going to last. Sorry, I'm going on a rant here because I like this stuff. But what do you think, dude?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. To me, it's adapt or die, right? You need to adapt to the circumstances. You need to be open to that data, right? Don't bring your drama of we've been in the printing business for 100 years and we'll be in the business for another 100 years, regardless of what the current market demands.
Yeah.
That's yesterday's thinking. And so you were talking about battleships, and it just really made me think of a saying that they often talk about old generals trying to fight the last war, right? And so they're trying to implement the strategies that won the last war rather than what's going on today, right? Like, we used to have a horse cavalry and we could dominate because we had that level of cavalry. But then all of a sudden the tank age or the armored age comes in, and it's like, well, now we need to completely adapt our strategies.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we're going to find ourselves on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, and I like adapt or die, but what I like better is create or die. See, I think you have to innovate or you're going to die anyway. So even people who adapt, the problem with that logic for me is they adapt too slow. It's the first thing we talked about here today. You're slow to implement, right? Oh, we're going vegan. Why aren't you vegan already? Why isn't your restaurant vegan dishes? Why isn't your clothing store have, whatever the thing is that we're moving into? I don't think the trends move that quickly. I really don't. I think just people fail to take the trend seriously enough because they think it's a fad. And the hardest thing for a business owner to recognize is when something was a fad, but then it wasn't a fad. It was change, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of this cry wolf mentality with business owners. I get it, right? Like, oh, the newest, latest, and greatest. But there's some kind of major elements which I don't think we're going away from the digital revolution. Like, I don't think right now we're going to go anti-digital. Like, I don't see us going back to the Mormon way of life. I mean, we all might grow beards and look like it, but I don't think we're going back that way anytime soon. So why are we not pushing for digital? So if your company's not digital, if you're a realtor in Canada, you're not moving digital, you're losing it. I mean, if you're a real estate investor, if you're not taking advantage of all the digital stuff that's available to you, right? Like the call rails and the podios and all this stuff, like, you're going to be losing. It's simple as that. And if you're not going direct to source and cutting out middlemen and cutting out fat out of your business in a time when it's tight, hey, guess what? You can't afford to be living on the pasture anymore. Like, you're beyond that period. COVID took that away from you. What it did was it took the laziness out of people.
Complacency. There's no room for it now. Recently on a real estate transaction, I had a realtor that still didn't use DocuSign or any sort of e-signature. And he worked for the CBRE brokerage. And they had literally just in the last month converted over to it. And I'm like, how are you guys, like, you literally made people physically come to you to sign shit, or they had to print it off? Like, this is insanity. You're not focused on your customer whatsoever.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is when you remain and become customer centric. That's the game. Folks, become customer centric. Find out what people don't like and give it to them. That's business. Solve problems. We just got to make sure we're solving the right problem, because too many times I think we solve the wrong one. And you're seeing what's going on in the digital revolution. Hey, the people who solved old problems, they become old news. The people who are innovating and solving new problems, like, companies right now they're getting ready to provide masks and vaccines, they're shooting up through the roof in anticipation of being able to solve this pandemic issue. All right? Like, that's a huge thing. Imagine you were the person who is the mask supplier, right? The least attractive business ever 4 months ago. Like, I provide this thing, and now you're going through the roof. So, folks, I love it. I love business. I think it's really important, but I also recognize that it's exciting because it's on the cutting edge, and you got to stay on the cutting edge. So, folks, if you're kind of brand new to the show, make sure you smash that like button. Follow my man Matt McKeever on his YouTube channel. Come back and hit the subscribe button or whatever we have on Facebook. Follow, stream, share, whatever that stuff is. Matt, any final words for our folks at home here before we wrap up today's episode?
Just remember, guys, you're in control. So you just need to take ownership of the situation and lean into it. Problems or profits.
I love it. And one last thing, folks. Listen, I think we might still have the thing up from this weekend. We had a massive growth over at Cashflow Tribe. If you're ready to finally take advantage and get into the game with cutting-edge entrepreneurs in Canadian real estate, you need to head over to cashflowtribe.ca. Hans, throw it on the screen. Cashflowtribe.ca. We gave out the most ridiculous offer we've ever made in the history of our company, right? The most ridiculous offer. Literally thousands and thousands of dollars worth of value, over $3,100 worth of tools and resources that we gave away completely for free. Why? Because we can. It's that simple. We're here to take the game. We're here to keep growing. We're here to keep investing in people's lives. We're here to do it ethically. We're here to really drive value because we know that other companies just can't. They're too bureaucratic. They're too non-customer centric. And we love Tribe. We love, impact, results, transparency, and community. Those are our core values at Cashflow Tribe. So I would urge you, go check it out. We got a free 14-day trial right now. and check it out over at cashflowtribe.ca. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. It's been an amazing conversation. I hope you got some massive value. And like always, I've got my Matt McKeever song on lock. So I'm going to play Matt McKeever's song as we roll out of here today. Hans, let's hit the beat. Matt, thank you so much, man. We'll see you very soon. Take care, folks.
Thanks, Ben.
Here we go. Yeah, let me get the beat. It's the McKeever app. And working at your job every day of the week. Promoted 2 times, but now your future looks bleak. You're saving every dollar, making plans for retiring, but now you're losing hope and no one is hiring. McKeever and Ben Humble is coming to the rescue. Diversify your income and stop spending like the rest do. Time to build some skills and get some solid mentorships. We're fighting in these waters like U.S. naval battleships. McKeever making money. Are you making money? Build a business now or y'all be looking funny. McKeever making money. You making money? Build a business now. Y'all be looking funny. You making money? Build a business now or y'all be looking funny. McKeever making money. Thanks, Matt. You making money. You're the best. Build a business now or y'all be looking funny.
Successful real estate investors in southwestern Ontario. Matt retired from the corporate and financial rat race in his early 30s, and now Matt's current portfolio exceeds 100 units in the region, making him a self-made millionaire in real estate business. His love of community and drive to create and impact others has helped Matt garner the largest real estate YouTube following in Canada, with over 57,000 subscribers. Matt is a natural educator, teaching you all the strategies you'll ever need to know about real estate. He has been widely recognized as a mentor to many beginning investors wanting to gain knowledge in the real estate world. This is Matt McKeever.